Hi, my name is Energio and welcome to Louder with Energio. If you're a new or returning viewer, listener, subscriber, I want to say a very, very big welcome. I'm so glad that you could join me on the podcast today. This is our the penultimate episode of season 1 of Louder with Energy. And today we will be talking about the hookup culture, and on the side we're going to be addressing sexual liberation. Okay. I did say it's the penultimate episode, but before I get into all of those details that I'm about to give you, I want to encourage you to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe. It won't take anything from you, but it does help the channel. It does help this podcast, this platform. All right, do so before you get into the discussion. Take some time out to subscribe, and then leave a comment at the end after the discussion. All right. So we're going to be talking about hookup culture and sexual liberation. I did say it was the penultimate episode, right? Let me quickly share that with you. So, on our final episode of this season 1 of Louder with Energio, we're going to be having a live. I really want to know the people who have watched, who have followed so far. I want to get to know every single one of you, and then we're going to be discussing live. That's going to be fun. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. The link will be in the description below. Follow me everywhere so that you can get the details for the live video for our final episode of season 1 with Louder with Energy. All right, so let's talk about hookup culture. This topic, let's just address it. Before we go far, let's define what hookup culture is. So I went on Google and I did my research, and this is what hookup culture is by definition. A culture that involves and supports hooking up or on commitment, short-term sexual acts between two people who are not involved in a long-term relationship with each other. So, simply put, hookup culture is when two individuals or two or more individuals, honestly, or an individual is involved in sexual relations with people with whom that person, so person A or the lady or the guy does not have any long-term commitment, no relationship, no commitment whatsoever, no marriage, but they have sexual relations. That's what hookup culture is. Some other people, I don't want to go into those other parts. Let's keep it very clean and PG. All right. So that's what hookup culture is. And in Nigeria, this is what hookup culture is. The art of hooking up is a subtle way of asking to be paid for sex without being branded as a prostitute or runt girl. The latter is a class of on-demand, tech-savvy girls, just one step ahead of prostitutes. We're not going to go into this, go deep into this definition of this Nigerian definition of hookup culture. We're going to keep it at the very, very, very general point of what hookup culture is. So, simply put, for our discussion today, hookup culture is a culture where you're not committed to someone. It's basically where you're not committed to someone in a relationship. You're not in any defined relationship with the person or with several people, but you share sexual relations with them. Okay? So, let me say this. As humans, on the most basic level, we want to have deep connections with people. So, on the most basic level, even in platonic relationships, everybody longs and wants deep connections. Nobody wants surface level stuff. That's why many people would say, "Oh, I'm cutting off friends. I'm cutting off this toxic friends." That's just by the side, anyways. But everybody wants something that is tangible. Every human wants a relationship that is deep, that is not just shallow, not just surface level. Everybody wants a deep connection with friends, with family members, and even in their romantic relationships, with the people that they decide to share the rest of their lives with. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants something deep. So I don't know how, as a society, we came to a point where we've now been told that it is okay to just sleep around with people, sleep around, hook up, have one night stands, and all of this, and all of that stuff, and everything that hookup culture is, that it is okay to have that, and that it is in fact empowering, that it is liberating, to not be tied, they use the word tied, to not be tied down to one person, that it is okay to not have anything tangible, anything deep, and that the shallow stuff is what matters, and the shallow stuff is what brings happiness. That's a very big lie. I dare say a lie from the pit of hell. We all want tangible, deep relationships, because even in our friendships, before we even go into the deep stuff of relationships, like romantic relationships, we all want tangible relationships, deep stuff. With our friends, we want deep stuff. With our family members, we want deep stuff. We long for them. So how does it make sense to then say that when it comes to romantic relationships, that we're fine, we're absolutely fine with it not being deep, with it being shallow, with jumping from one person to the other? Bear in mind that many of us, when we count our true friends, they're not many. We don't jump around from friends to friends. And people who do that do not have deep connections with people. They don't keep deep They probably have trust issues. They've had issues with friendships. And so it makes sense to just move from one person to another. Yes, that moves on to, that applies, or that affects their romantic relationships as well. But we all want to have friends. Even people who subscribe to hookup culture want to have friends. They want to have people that they can call on when things are tough, when the going gets hard, in good times, when we want to share good news and stuff. We all want deep connections. We want our own people. We want our own community. So in what world does it then make sense that we say, when it comes to romantic relationship, that should be the deepest? When it comes to the topic of who we can give our bodies to, that it doesn't matter, that you should not be bound. If I can be bound to the friends that I have and I can be committed to them, why can't I be committed to the one person that I share my body with? Why is there no commitment? That's the lie. That's the lie that woke people tell us. All right, that's the lie. It's a very, very, very big lie. Every human longs for deep connections, and especially in their romantic relationships. Hookup culture is not normal. Don't let them lie to you. It's not. It will never, ever be normal. All right. So I went on Google, and while I was doing my research, there were some questions that people had asked, and I want to answer some of those questions before I'm going to share an article that I read, and I'll also leave the link to that in the description below so that you can as well read it. But I want to take some time out to answer some questions. I'm smiling a lot because I feel like a teacher right now, but don't mind me, okay? To answer some of those questions that we found. I'm very sure that some of us may need answers to those questions. I'm sure that many of you would agree with me on the answers. But I think it can shed light on what hookup culture is, all right? So one of the questions, the top question is, can hookups lead to pregnancy? Yes, it can. Because for most people who sleep with many different men, if you're already not aware or keeping yourself for one person, the chances that you're doing what is needed to protect yourself from unwanted pregnancy is possible. And the fact that someone is asking this question shows that it is possible. All right? So if you're sleeping around with just anybody, you're already not careful enough. You're already being carefree about your sexual life. So it makes sense to say, yes, that it can lead to pregnancy. It may just be a one-night stand, but we've heard about one-night stands that led to pregnancies. All right, so yes, hookup culture or one-time hookup can lead to pregnancy. All right. Another question, why do guys act weird after hooking up? This is part of what I'm going to be addressing, or I'm going to be reading to you on the article that I found to share with you. Men act weird after hookup because it is hookup. there are no commitments, no strings attached, right? So you shouldn't expect them to give you commitment only because you slept with them or because you've hooked up. The fact that if you can give something without commitment, pardon me, if you already gave it without commitment, why should the person or why should the guy in this case feel a need to then commit to you? If you already gave him what he was looking for, if hookup is what he was looking for in the first place, why then should he commit? If he can have it without a commitment, why bother himself with committing to you or committing to any other person who is willing to give it to him? Yeah, so they act weird after a hookup because they found or they've received what they were looking for in the first place. They were not looking for commitment. And as a lady, you have given to him what he came looking for. And you may have said, oh, that was what you wanted at that time. But if that was what you wanted, then don't be shocked or don't be bothered that there's no commitment afterwards. All right? I hope that makes sense. If you've already decided that, oh, I'm going to hook up with everybody that I meet, I want no commitment, do not be shocked if the person you're also hooking up with doesn't want commitment or they start acting weird. Don't expect more from a hookup. It's simply a hookup, right? Yeah. All right. Let's not dwell on that. Another question. Oh, wow. Pardon me. Another question that I found here is, who benefits from hookup culture? The simple question is nobody. Nobody benefits from it. All right. You may say, oh, okay, I'm getting what I want. I want no commitment. But these are not really benefits. These are not benefits. Because with everybody that you sleep with, whether you agree with me or not, you're giving a part of yourself to that person. So there isn't really any benefit apart from the high that you get from orgasm, from the sexual act itself. There isn't really much benefit. All right. Except we're not relating it to the Nigerian definition of hookup culture, where you're being paid for it. But all of those things are not tangible. They don't last. Money is tangible. You can receive the money. You can spend the money, but it doesn't last. The sexual high that you get will not last. Okay, it won't last. So nobody is really benefiting from it, male or female. Nobody benefits from it. In fact, you actually lose a part of yourself by going down that route. Excuse me. By sleeping with men after men or women after women, you actually lose yourself. So nobody actually benefits from hookup culture. Do not let them lie to you. The man is not benefiting, the woman is not benefiting. All you get, sexual highs. Yeah, maybe money. But after that, then what? What next? Nobody benefits from hookup culture. Don't let them deceive you, okay? Then someone asks, do hookups become relationships? So this is I can say that this is from someone who has hooked up with someone long enough. And don't get me wrong, hookup culture is not just, oh, I slept with this person today, I slept with the next person tomorrow. It's not just that. Some people hook up with people for years. So you hear the term friends with benefits. So your friends, you don't have any deep commitment to this person. You don't define your relationship. It's not defined. And this does not cover where you're having premarital sex, because I believe that sex should be kept for marriage. We can debate that, we can argue on that, but I genuinely believe that it should be kept for marriage, that it should be something protected and only given in marriage. And I know that people would say, oh, there are women who waited until marriage and then they were still cheated on, they were still taken advantage of. That's an exception. I know that happens. I know that there are crazy people out there in the world, but that's an exception. For most people, when they say, oh, till death do us part, they mean it. They walk towards it. If it ends in divorce, it does end in divorce. But in the time that you're giving your body to that person, there's something that protects you. There's a covering that marriage gives you. There's a protection that having that commitment, lifelong commitment, gives you. All right? So, back to the question, do hookups become relationships? Yes, a lot of times, sometimes they do. but it's the exception, not the rule. Okay? This question was asked by someone who is already catching feelings. And that's what happens when you have friends with benefit. One or both parties will catch feelings. So let me tell you this. Either one of them will catch feelings, but because they had decided that there will be no commitment, they don't want to break what is already there, and they don't want to lose what they already have. So you're bound to someone without their commitment to you. That's what hookup culture can do. So we're friends. We're not committed to each other in a relationship, but we have sex. So we're also bothered that if I bring up my feelings, if I bring up my emotions, because that was not what was discussed initially, this person may walk away. This person may leave. So one or either or both of them may catch feelings. The both of them may catch feelings and never discuss it. So in the end, maybe one of them will grow out of the feelings, get into a relationship with another person, and then get married, and then someone's heart is broken. But this is the kind of question that is asked by someone who's already catching feelings for someone they are hooking up with. Why go through the stress of this kind of situation? Why not be in a committed relationship, a lifelong relationship? Why not know if they are committed to you before you actually give your body to them? Why not let the sexual part of it be something that you use to seal your lifelong commitment, instead of it being what you try to the tool that you use to tie them down into a lifelong commitment? I hope that makes sense. Why not wait for the lifelong commitment before you give them something that deep, something that precious, before you give yourself away like that, as opposed to just giving it to them and then hoping that they would give you their commitment or their heart afterwards? That's something to think about, okay? Then, another question. Do guys lose feelings after hooking up? Yes, mostly they do. Because again, like I said, they already have the sexual part. Why should they then give their feelings? If they can get it without putting their heart on the line, without putting their heart into it, without putting their emotions, without applying their feelings, why then should they keep the feelings? Why should they keep feelings if they can already get what they want? Don't get me wrong. There are men, I know again, that there are cases where even after people have had sex, that they go on to be committed to one another in a lifelong relationship, in marriage. But again, it is the exception and not the rule. So yes, men and guys lose feelings after hooking up. Then there is another question. Do men catch feelings after hookup? All of these questions just leads me to the article that I have written. Because even though I said earlier that no one benefits and everyone loses in hookup, when they hook up or in this hookup culture of a thing, there is one gender that loses out even more. Women lose out even more. My gender loses out even more. We have a lot more to lose. It is my gender that gets pregnant. It is women who get pregnant in the end. We have a lot more to lose. Everyone loses out, but women lose out even more because we're very emotional beings. All right? We're very emotional beings. So that's why you're seeing questions like this. I was going through the questions on Google, and I didn't really find, do women lose feelings? Do women fall in love? Because we've been lied to as a society, and especially as women, that it is okay and that there's liberation in hookup culture. That you can also decide that if men, that you can give your body to every man, that it's also liberating. You can choose who you want to share your body with. And it's true, you can choose who you want to share your body with. But you shouldn't look at it in that way. You shouldn't decide that I can choose who I want to share my body with, so I'm going to share with everybody. You should actually think about it as, I can choose who I want to share my body with, so I'm going to choose the man that I get married to. Women have a lot to lose out on. The society that we live in does not really help women when it comes to, or side with women when it comes to hookup culture. You shouldn't side with anybody anyways. It shouldn't be. Men should not be hooking up. Women should not be hooking up. Get married and have one person that you're committed to sexually for the rest of your life. It's beautiful, I can assure you. I know firsthand. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. There is nothing beautiful about giving your body to everybody that you find, everybody that winks at you, every woman that is interested in you. So I'm going to share basically with you guys from the article that I read. I'm just going to share points from it. So there was this lady, Leah Fessler. She was a sworn feminist, and of course, when she got into college, university for us in Nigeria, when she got into college, she followed the regular narrative of hookup culture. She decided to try it out herself, her friends. They would hook up with people, but she found that there was nothing good coming out of it. It was the high that was promised was not what she had found in it. People would hook up for weeks, for months, even years, and then break up and then go their separate ways. And what they expected from it, they were not getting out of it. All right. That's what hookup culture does. They call it casual sex. There is really absolutely nothing casual about sex. Sex is emotional and deep. All right, don't get it twisted. So, because she didn't find what she was looking for in hookup culture, she decided to do a research on it as her final research in the university. And this is what the article says. Fessler interviewed 75 male and female students and conducted more than 300 online surveys. She found that 100% of female interviewees and 3/4 of female survey respondents stated a clear preference for committed relationships. I told you guys, we want deep relationships. We don't want things that are shallow, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. Women want deep commitment. We want committed relationships. Men do as well. All right, I'll continue to read. Only 8% of about 25 female respondents who said they were in pseudo relationships reported being happy with their situation. Hookup is pseudo relationship. There is nothing, absolutely nothing real about it. It is not real life. It has no foundation in real life. Every human being wants something deep. Every human being wants deep commitment with other human beings. Platonic, and especially with our romantic relationships. I'll continue reading. The women I interviewed were eager, this is Fessler, eager to build connections, intimacy, and trust with their sexual partners. Instead, almost all of them found themselves going along with hookups that induced overwhelming self-doubt, emotional instability, and loneliness, she wrote. The male responses were just as complex, she adds. Most men interviewed and surveyed also preferred a committed relationship, but felt pressured to have casual sex with numerous beautiful women in order to discuss these escapades with their friends and boost their status in the culture where hookups are the norm. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants hookup culture. We're either using it to massage our egos or using it to fill holes or vacuums. But nobody really wants hookup culture. Nobody wants to just sleep around. You can lie to yourself, but there'll come a day where you'd sit down, look over your life and realize that it really hasn't paid. It doesn't pay. If you want to have sex, wait, get married. Get married and then have sex. You really need that covering, especially as women. We end up feeling miserable. Even men. We're just trying to fill vacuum that sex cannot fill. All right? Sex is like a drug. The same way that people would do drugs to fill a vacuum. Yes, a lot of people do that as well. It is worth it to stay in a committed relationship, to be in a committed relationship. And when I say committed relationship, again, I mean marriage. It is best to have the covering of marriage before you have sex. Don't give yourself away when someone has not given you a lifelong commitment, have not given you their own lifelong commitment, have not given you themselves for life in a commitment that is marriage. All right. It is very, very important that we know this. It is very, very important that we see hookup culture for what it is. There is no liberation. You know how they say women are experiencing sexual freedom, sexual liberation. That's not true. It is actually the opposite. Oh, Father Lord, pardon me. My mom is Yoruba. It is the direct opposite, actually. We're then bound to people who are not committed to us, or who will not eventually be committed to us, who may or may not be committed to us. You're bound to them. You've given a part of yourself away to all of these men or to all of these women. All right. There is nothing liberating about hookup culture. So I'm going to round off on this note. As fun of an idea as hookup culture might seem like on paper, for many people, the reality is much more somber. Feelings of regret, loneliness, and the lack of fulfillment are unfortunate consequences of casual sex that rarely get the same amount of screen time as the most titillating aspect. They will sell you the idea of casual sex, tell you about the highs that you can get from it, but they don't tell you about the lows. When you're alone by yourself at home and you begin to think about your life, it's not as fun. You realize that there's an emptiness. And I just want to encourage you, that emptiness, don't fill it up with, don't try to fill it with sexual escapades. Don't try. It will never work. It has never worked and it will never work. And the crazy thing is, especially for women who decide to get married at an earlier age are frowned upon by society. We've taken a very weird approach to life as a society. Women who decide, oh, I found the person that I want to do life with. I'm 22 and I'm ready to settle down. They are looked down upon by feminists, modern feminists, I dare say. We now have it backward as a society. Truth of the matter is, hookup culture does not pay anybody, doesn't benefit anybody, and I'm going to round off on that note. I want to encourage you to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, discuss with me. I want to hear your thoughts on what you think hookup culture is doing to us as a society. If you've watched this far, leave a comment. All right, subscribe if you've not already done so. Do not forget, this is the penultimate, second to the last episode on this season of Louder with Energio. I have had a lot of fun. It's brought me so much joy to bring you all of these things on this podcast so far. And I'm so glad to have shared them with you. There'll be a second episode, a second season, pardon me. Don't worry, but this is just so that we can get some rest and plan towards a bigger, better second episode as we continue on the podcast. All right. So stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. If you're not already doing so, please do so. All right. Do so that you can get the details for the live video. I really want to catch up with every single one of you on a live video. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very, very excited. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment until our live stream. This is Louder with Energy.